I don't know if you've seen the memes about how there aren't just 4 seasons, there's really 12. And, there's like winter, and then there's fake spring, and then there's the second winter, and the spring of deception, and then the third winter. And I don't know all the seasons, although my favorite is after summer comes Hell's Front Porch, which feels very relatable when it's that really hot, humid August. And what I like about this meme is I think it's funny because I find it to be true. And it makes it very obvious to me how attached I am to things that I cannot control. I cannot control whether it rains or the sun shines on any given day. And I am very attached to what the weather will be like on a given day. And in Buddhism, which is where most of my meditation training comes from, there is this idea that our attachment to how we want things to be is what causes our suffering. And when we can relax our attachment to how we want things to be, we can decrease our suffering. And what I have found in my own life is sometimes I am able to notice that I'm attached to how I want something to be. And when I realize that attachment, I can laugh at myself. I can't control whether it rains today or not, right? And once I realize that, I can relax and suffer a little bit less. But there are some things that it's really hard for me to relax my attachment to. Like I'm attached to not having back pain. And so I can't necessarily get rid of my attachment to how I want things to be. But even when I notice my attachment, it gives me a little bit of space and a little bit of freedom from grasping how I want things to be, which still decreases my suffering, even though I'm not totally letting go of my attachment. So, in today's practice, I wanted to invite us to come into the present moment and we'll anchor our attention on our breath and our minds will wander because we're human. And the invitation today is that when we notice our mind wandering, can we just put a little note on it if it's something that we want or something that we don't want? Or maybe in a rare case, something that we don't care about, which we usually don't think about, but maybe we will, right? To just notice, oh, am I really attached that I want more of this and I'm clinging to wanting this? Or is this something that I'm really attached to not having and I'm pushing it away? Or is it just something neutral in the middle? And just by starting to notice, we might find a little bit of space. There's this quote by Viktor Frankl that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So by starting to notice what we're being stimulated by, we can find that space before we respond. It's actually a little bit similar, I think, to the serenity prayer also, which is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Right, so this is a practice in starting to notice what it is we might want to change, and then whether it makes sense to let go of our attachment to wanting to change it, or if there's some good, wise way of moving forward with changing it. So, with that, we'll come into our practice. And um, Kendra, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here. And the one note I'm going to say is that the invitation, when we notice that our mind has wandered, is just to label it if it's something we want more of, less of, or neutral. Or you can just do what you normally do in meditation. But you can come into a comfortable position, maybe just taking a few breaths here, allowing yourself to land. And starting to settle into our environment, noticing any sounds in our space, noticing the temperature of the air, and feeling of clothes touching our body. Maybe noticing any tastes in our mouth. Just being with these sensations as they are, not judging them as good or bad, and just accepting the way they are in this moment. Starting to come into our body, noticing where our body is connected to the ground, to the cushion, noticing these points of support and allowing ourselves to soften, melt into the support, to feel that connection, to feel supported, to feel held in this moment and space. Relaxing the muscles of our legs, noticing the physical sensation of our belly, knowing we often hold tension there, just noticing our own experience, bringing some awareness into our back, our spine, feeling a sense of ease and relaxation as our torso rises up out of our pelvis, most gently lifting with the natural curvature of our spine, bringing some awareness into our shoulders, allowing our arms to hang loosely at our sides, resting our hands palms down on our lap or wherever is comfortable for us. And bringing some awareness into our face, relaxing the muscles of our cheeks, our jaw, our forehead. You may have already allowed your eyes to gently close. If not, I invite you to do so now. Or if it's in your practice, you're welcome to leave your eyes open, softly gazing a few feet in front of you. And then just starting to feel your body breathing. Attempting to not judge our breath. Attempting to just be with it as it is, without analysis, or evaluation. Maybe noticing if there's a place where we feel our breath most strongly. It could be in your nostrils, your belly. There's no right or wrong. Noticing your own experience. And if there is a place in your body where you feel your breath most strongly, you can drop an anchor there for this practice, just allowing your attention to rest. Because we're human, our minds will start to think. The invitation for today's practice is just to notice our attachment to those thoughts. Is it something that we want more of? Something that we want less of? Maybe something that's neutral. And when a thought comes up, just giving it a label without getting too caught up in the story, without evaluating how we should feel, and just recognizing the truth of how we actually feel. It's something we want more or less of. And then gently bringing the attention back to the breath. And every time we notice a thought, just checking in with ourselves and with our attachment, and then gently returning back to our breath. When we get distracted, we can use it as an opportunity to see our relationship to that distraction. And if we're wanting more, less of that distraction, just giving ourselves a little bit of space and room before our response. coming back to our body breathing as often as we need to, resting our attention in our body. And using our breath as an anchor to this present moment from which we can see our minds, our thoughts when they wander, and then gently return back to our body breathing. As we close out this practice, I invite you to let go of all objects of your attention, letting go even of the focus on your breath, and just resting. And you can bring your attention back onto your body breathing, onto your feet, resting on the floor. Start to deepen your breath. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring yourself out of the practice.